Hey, welcome to the DB channel, and today we have a new video style. I'm just going to review the cards from the new set, and today I have with me Marcus, who's actually the guy behind Geek Stack itself. So we're going to enjoy this whole card building or card library that he has prepared for us, and of course, dive into the cards real quick. So I think the first card is Commander Erwin. Alright, AOT is a very famous, alright, IP in general.
Definitely.
Okay, so we have a 0 cost, just a 2k active trigger, nothing to rave about, definitely very simple, but maybe people would prefer it being a draw trigger as well.
I would believe so as well, because definitely in this game, hand size is not very important. However, drawing into outs is something that is very favored by many. Yeah, so I would say in this current game state, draw trigger is definitely more favored for now.
Definitely. Okay, so we're going to move on to the second card, which is Commander Erwin himself. On play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, review up to 1 Levi and add it to your hand. Place the remaining at the bottom of your deck. If you add a card, place 1 card to the outside area. Activate main, paid in 1 AP. During this turn, increase this character generated energy by 1, so you become a 3 energy. At the start of the attack phase this turn, choose up to 1 of your AP cards and set it to active. Alright, so how do you feel about this card?
I think the on-play effect is definitely welcome, because having a searcher is a very generic way to get into the key piece for the deck. Right. However, the activate main is very questionable. It's like you're paying the AP in advance and you will be getting back later. However, the AP can be better off developing the board as well. So there's definitely a trade-off over here when it comes to the activate main, though it plays towards Levi's way of playing, which is having an AP during his attack stage.
Right, and definitely looking at the stats itself, 3-1, 2.5, pretty generic, pretty good honestly, because it could have been much worse. And like what you mentioned, we definitely had to look at Levi to understand better what this card can provide.
Yeah, but definitely being able to provide 3 energy is something that is very rare. Yeah, I think the only deck so far that has that is actually from green Code Geass, right? Lancelot.
Oh yes, definitely.
There's a card.
Yeah, the few spell I think.
Yeah.
But I think in this set alone actually there's multiple energy styles. So let's dive right in quick. Next one. Alright, so basically this card is Hunch. Alright, so choose 1 active trait Titan holder or pure Titan card on your opponent area, and you may rest it. If you did, the player that got rested by this effect draws 1 card. So in a struggle battle, easily in a struggle battle, this card just make opponent, you remove 1 body from defending. Alright, but it doesn't have an active trigger or anything like that. So what do you think about this?
I think definitely in struggle this will be one of the most played cards, because it's very specific in the trait that you have to choose. So naturally the matchup, many of them will have Titan holder for red, many of them will have a pure Titan for green. So yeah, definitely something that you'll see very common in struggle, though out of struggle this card might not be seeing much play.
That's true. Okay, so we move on to the next card, alright, and we have Jin. Your turn, during this turn attack phase, if you pay an AP, this character plus 2k. So it'll be a 3.5k attacker with Commander Erwin. Honestly, just 500 power shot to it being a bastard card, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. However, it being potentially a 3.5 just because you pay an AP make this 0 cost card pretty interesting, in a sense where now you have more 4k attackers in the deck. Because if I didn't recall wrongly, there might be cards that can actually boost the 3.5.
I guess to be fair, it's actually part of the Levi squad, so we definitely can expect some Levi buff on top of the field.
Well, I mean, if let's say it's just 3.5, then hope that it...
I mean, it still does the early game damage pretty well. Yeah. And Commander Erwin, you can just play early and then, you know, make sure that it can actually do pretty sick damage. Alright, next we have a very generic card, which is just basically generate 1 energy. Nothing much to talk about, but honestly, what do you feel about this kind of cards?
I feel it's probably not played in many decks, because firstly, most of the time decks that need this is decks that require a high amount of energy, which is usually green decks, you know, those with 7 cost, 8 cost. But even this deck nowadays don't even operate such a card, because this card, yes, it generates energy, however, the downside is it put your board state behind. Right. Because it removes 1 card from your board. So definitely nowadays we don't really see much play for such cards.
I think the only good version of this card is when the card is a red target.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I think there's actually a 1 in the green AOT later. So we'll discuss that later. Next will be at the start of your turn attack phase. If you play this turn, choose up to 1 of your AP and set to active. Alright, so basically it's definitely part of the Levi squad, and we have Petra. Alright. I think we definitely have to look at Levi's skill first because
Yeah.
this is definitely a Levi support and this helps you to be a Commander Erwin. You know, set up for Commander Erwin.
I would say this card is definitely a good card that plays towards Levi's attack, which is being able to pay AP during the attack stage. If you think about it, technically you're just paying this card for free.
Yeah, definitely.
You get to keep the AP for the attack stage.
And you know, it's a double energy. So what's not to love about that?
Yeah,
right?
Levi is 6 energy. So definitely to even bring Levi in front, you need 4 cards at the back, which is usually the 6 energy require a 1-1-2-2 at the back.
Yep. Okay, so next we're gonna dive into Levi. So very generic, add to hand. Pretty good, because adding to hand.
Yeah, give you rate target.
Yes, guarantee rate target. Next will be when you pay an AP this turn. Alright, when attacking you may pay 1 AP. If you did draw one card, this character plus 500. So just be a 3k attacker. And the AP usually is given by, just like the Levi Squad Girl, as well as Commander Erwin. So draw card, I think nothing much to rave about, and we are hoping to see a buff on the field later. Next we have the color trigger. When attacking you may pay 1 AP, same effect, draw one card and plus 1k, but this time round it's actually a 3k, so it's going to be a 4k with a 2 energy cost.
Which is the sweet number right now in UA, having
definitely.
4k attackers.
Yes, and pretty good. Honestly, this is a very decent card, and of course the pay AP, although it might seem like it's expensive, but with how the support works around it, I think it's a very good generic attacker. And let's just say it's a draw one. Of course, you can't do it during the main phase, to extend your plays in the same turn, but attacking and being a 4k is just pretty nuts.
Yeah, I guess one way to see it is that, let's say you are in a state where you are lacking of key pieces, maybe let's say the Levi rate, but you have cards that help you active your AP during the attack stage. These are cards that can leverage on that, at the same time cycle into the deck to get in the entire deck pool to get the pieces that you actually need.
That's true. And next we have the first Levi SR. So when the front line at the start of the attack phase, if this character is active, choose out to one of your AP card and just set it to active. Okay, and when attacking you may pay 1 AP. If you did, choose up to one character on your area, give it plus 1k BP. Alright, that 1k was what was needed in the previous few cards. And this character cannot be chosen by your open trigger effect, so special, colors, until the end of this turn.
So maybe if you think about it, actually that 0 cost card that we saw previously might benefit from such an effect, though you might want to use the protection on someone else, because technically
that's true.
You want to keep something to be safe from the opponent's life.
Yes, for sure. But however, this is definitely what the deck really needed, and basically is a good AP user, honestly. And actually, it stands its own AP also. So it's actually a very self-sufficient card, honestly.
Yeah, but of course, you have to be able to see through a turn. So, not sure how some people might play it. Maybe being able to drop 2 at one go, hopefully will be the best way to make sure they at least have 1 during the next turn.
And one good thing about this card is actually it's a get trigger.
Yeah, actually many of these kind of for some of them are not even get triggers. They are like active.
Some cards just don't want you to be, added from life. But however, this deck really want to push you to play towards Levi. So I can see why they are doing
With
that.
key pieces having get, it's definitely very favored.
Yes, definitely. And now we move on to the Ace card, which is Levi himself. So once per turn, at the end of this attack, you can actually pay 1 AP and send this active. Alright. On play, this character gains plus 1k BP, attacks times 2, and at this character's third attack during this turn, this character gains snipe. So this card swings 3 times.
Yeah, definitely. I think one way to see this card is it makes your opponent in a very ambiguous state. So if let's say now I attack the first attack, as the opponent I will not be sure if I want to block, because by blocking with my bodies, I'm potentially limiting my targets on the board, which will make it very clear for the Levi user to be able to snipe.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a very ironic card. You make you do something, make you feel like what you do also doesn't seem to be the right play. Yeah, so of course hitting trigger will be the best, which then brings you back to the other Levi being able to protect this, right?
Yes.
Or is it that Levi can only choose?
You can choose basically another character. So
there's no character lock on this. I guess these two synergize very well with each other.
So it's actually pretty sick, I would say. Because during 3 attacks in one card, it's just telling you one turn I can do 7 swings, which is very new in UNIONARENA in general.
But I would say 6 energy is definitely a good balance for this card. It's definitely not going to be easy. I mean, personally, I've played Rengoku, which is 6 energy. It's tough, man. 6 energy is not easy.
But however, Commander Erwin is 3 energy, and we do see the girl being 2 energy.
Oh, that's true.
So they definitely do have a lot more energy support. Definitely one of the highest praise card in this set, easily. Alright.
Yeah.
And I think what's the missing thing that is missing an impact one?
Well, I mean, it has 3 attacks. Having an impact one would just make it a bit broken.
It will be broken for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, next we move on to just a very basic generic email. I think there's a red target for her, so she add to hand. So
I think the email set is to synergize with the Historia set. Like, Historia seem to want to...
Okay, yeah, so basically in Union Arena, generally, there's actually 2 decks that you can play around.
From one color.
From one color. So that's one. So this basically you're moving on to the second deck already. So during your opponent turn, if there's a Historia, this character plus 1k. So it's actually a 4k for 2 costs.
Yeah.
Pretty good stats.
And it didn't lock Historia to whichever line, means it's in your area.
Right.
Doesn't have to be energy line, front line, anywhere on the area.
So this allows for a very early game
4k body.
4k body in the front row.
For opponent turn.
Yes.
I think you can see it as the 3-1, 3k UG that is a
Right.
4k in the opponent turn.
Right.
That 4k early game always tend to make it very annoying for the opponent. So
That's true.
This will definitely serve the similar purpose, but at a 2 energy cost. So
Yes.
I think this is definitely played in a Historia email deck.
Confirm
sure.
a playset of it.
Yeah.
And next we have Emir with his red. So when attacking, draw 1 card, place 1 card to your from your hand to the outside area. Then if you have 6 or more event in your outside area, you may set this character to active.
This is a very good card because one way to see it is, if you notice the way they phrase it is, when attacking, right, you draw 1, you discard 1, then if you have 6, which means, right, if let's say you have 5 event now,
Right.
you can proc this effect while attacking and then you active it.
Right.
So it's definitely strong, man.
And
I like
usually
this
in
card,
a Union Arena deck,
Yeah.
you actually already play 8 events, which is
Yeah.
4 special and 4 finals. So playing more events don't really hurt you, but of course it's about consistency.
yeah,
But
in terms of what characters you have
Yes,
available in the deck pool.
that's true. In terms of ratio, basically.
Yeah.
But we'll see what other events are available for this Historia deck. We're gonna jump into the next card. Honestly,
This is your generic 1 energy, 2 energy generated card, which is very common in, like, I think almost every color,
every
archetype of
IP
deck.
will get one.
Yeah.
And it's Armin. I honestly thought it's Historia. Oh my god.
Oh, no,
Okay.
it's not, man.
Okay, so there's nothing much to talk about this. Let's move on. Next.
Generic card as well.
Another generic one. If there's a
Yeah.
green or blue on the opponent area, reduce the energy requirement in this card by 1. So initially, right, when Struggle Battle was a thing, everyone thought this would potentially be a good card.
I think there's a typo. Maybe it's green and...
Oh, sorry, green
And
or red.
red.
So
Yeah.
basically, it's always the opponent field. All right, but however, you will think that this is a good card, but honestly, not really. All right, so we move on very fast from that. Next, we do have the Potato Girl. Impact negate, just impact negate, nothing much, very standard. I think it's just good to have in general, because not all IPs do have an impact negate at 0 cost.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we actually do move on to the Horseman, Jin. Double block. 3.5, 3 energy, pretty decent stats. Usually,
However, I think cards like 3.5, double block tend to not be very impactful. Like I said, in current meta, 4k bodies are favored, draw triggers are favored. Double block is definitely very good with active trigger, as we can take reference from Gojo, the yellow
Right.
Gojo, where there's this 414 double block, but to touch that card, you have to pay an AP. So cards like that will definitely benefit a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, but in this case, this is those
I
generic
think
double
what
blocks.
helps
So
even further is that it's an active trigger himself. So
Yeah.
it's a self-sufficient card, but don't really see play,
yeah,
honestly. Alright, next we actually do move on to Historia. Nothing much to worry about. Get trigger, pretty good. Next we do have this card, basically to help the whole deck idea. On play, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You can place it at any order. So if there's a character with Emir in his name, you can actually place any number of cards. Basically, scry harder lah.
yeah.
Right.
However, if you note, the key thing is that you can now discard it to the outside area, which play
Right.
towards
The whole
Historia's
event.
effect of having 2, 4, or 6 events, which we'll touch on later.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, very reliant on seeing Emir. Alright, next we
Yeah.
have the next Historia. So if there's a character in your area with Emir in his name, same thing, E plus 500, so it become a 3k. On play, if you use the event this turn, choose out the one with the AP and set it to active. So essentially, this is like a AP2 card because you want to play on the second AP.
Ah, yes, for sure.
Yeah. And it's actually the color, so you can't actually mix this with Levi, which
But I
makes
mean,
perfect sense.
one way to see it is this card really allows you to be able to expand your board easily.
Right.
Yeah, because like, you are playing this technically for free, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
It funds
definitely
itself,
yeah,
basically.
very welcome. And there's actually an event that, if played, you get to restand your AP. So if you think about it,
It's basically free.
yeah,
I think what would have prevented it from, I mean, there was a prevention from making it more broken, is that if it is double energy.
or the stats is higher.
Yes.
I think either or.
Because it's just a 3-1, 3k at max. Nothing much to rave about, honestly, but definitely essential for the whole deck idea. Okay, now next we move on to Historia himself. Okay, so Historia is the main card here. This character gains all the following effects based on the number of event cards on your outside area. 2 or more when attacking, choose up to one of your training corps person to get plus 1k. 4 or more, you can actually resend 1 AP, just because. 6 or more, you gain impact 1. So definitely a very mouthful card because there's so much things behind it. So I guess the question is to ask is it really that good though?
I would take it as it's a deck that has a lot of value. You get to restand many APs because you know the 3 energy is on play. You play event, activate, you get to restand AP. For this, you get to activate main and restand AP. I guess it's a deck where your board should be quite full most of the time because you have a lot of AP to play bodies.
Right.
Now the only thing that would make you question is, with a good board, what are you playing into? Because technically you only got a Historia that has impact 1, which requires you to have 6 event. And if you don't have that 6 event, what is your backup? You know,
Right.
for the Historia to play.
Right.
Because
And
I mean, we have seen decks where they play towards only 1 card. It tend to not fare very well. Though I think Lantica was an exception where there's only 1 SR that. But the whole deck just works because of the rare, you know, like.
I think the rare rates are strong.
Yeah. So for this, I guess his question is, what are you playing into besides just the impact 1? Is there something else to it? Is there a backup attacker also?
But I mean, like for example, like what you mentioned, you know, just playing 1 extra AP, does it really help you in terms of winning the game? And if you don't see this card in the first place, the whole deck will it just not function? You
Yeah,
know?
but I would say definitely a lot of value. Yeah, so we can see what other card pool there is that perhaps maybe will benefit this card.
Correct. So of course we now finally go to Mikasa. Pretty good effect. Draw 1, discard 1. Not all IP gets this. I'm not sure why. This should be a staple for everything, but it's not. So that's unfortunate. But of course the trigger just draw 1. Okay, pretty decent. Next we move on to the next Mikasa. This character gain all the effect following based on the number of event in your outside area. 2 or more, this character gain plus 1 energy. 4 or more, this character plus 1k. So it's actually a 3-1-4.
Yeah, a pseudo 4K. This is definitely very welcome in Historia deck.
Yes.
You know, more 4Ks, backup energy.
And
Yeah.
the thing is on both player turn. So it's actually a 4k on both player turn, which is pretty good and something that Historia maybe needed. Alright, next we move on to the next Mikasa. Your opponent cannot activate active trigger with a trigger check caused by damage by this character. On play, choose up to one of your character in the front line with BP, 4k or less and return it to hand, but it's an AP2 card.
Which I think now maybe synergize well with Historia. If you think about it, all that active AP allows you to be able to easily play a 4-2. And this 4-2 get to control your opponent board.
Right.
So I think these decks that has the ability to control opponent more than the generic 4 special is definitely more favored in this meta, unless you are talking about Purple Lantica, which is just very efficient.
That's
And
true.
the ability to minus 1k, that makes the deck good. But generically, most decks that are good are those that can control the opponent more than that 4 times, you know.
So essentially this, if you play this card, remove 1 body, play a special, remove another body, use Historia to restand, you actually are in a pretty good spot, honestly. Because you remove 2 bodies.
And it guards against active trigger.
Yes.
This means that you don't let your opponent have a free block. Like,
That's true.
active trigger, no matter how you see, it's always a free block if there's a body on the board.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how they have this effect for Mikasa, because I think in the anime itself, she's pretty scary in terms of when striking down the Titans, of course. So very interesting how they introduce
Probably
this
why
effect.
they can't active, you know, you get it? They can't
Yes,
stand.
correct. But one of its kind, because there's really no other IPs that have this card effect.
I guess the only one that only guard against, that prevented trigger was Asta, which prevented draw triggers from activating.
Right. So they are slowly introducing some sort of negate triggers,
Yeah.
but now they're introducing more on protection as well. So that's pretty nice. Next, we have another generic card, just Erwin staring into blank space. when you are active, you gain 1 more energy. I would say not all colors use this, but blue is definitely one of the colors that really is quite popular into leaning towards playing this because it's a very good tempo card. Right, on your second turn AP, you can just play this already, and then you guarantee 4 energy, and that's where you can start, generating a lot of bodies and value. Alright, so we'll move on pretty quickly to the impact negate of Erwin Jaeger. And it's actually the support for Historia, because why? On play, look at top 5 cards of your deck, reveal the 1 blue event card, add it to hand, and if you add a card, place 1 card from your hand to the outside area. So essentially telling you, if you don't need the event, just throw it out. Quickly fill up that 6 event cards as soon as possible.
But I guess one thing that you can observe is that there's a lot of 3 energy card that is good for this Historia deck. But talking about ratios, is having that much 3 energy that good if you were to affect your early curve? I mean, when deck building, then we will know,
Yeah, definitely.
But you can see there's a lot of good 3 energy cards for that deck.
Yep. So definitely maybe this card will see play because you do need to generate energy as at 2, so it's an easier tempo. And then after you set this card up, you can actually start playing your events more or less. Alright, next we move on to the event. Is this an event? No, this is actually a set spell, I believe.
Yeah, a few spell.
Alright, so on activate main, rest this card, reveal the top card of your deck. If the review card is a blue character card with required energy 3 or less, add it to your hand. If you did not, place the review card to the top of your deck. No bad things about this, honestly, because you're not going to put it to the bottom deck if you miss it. If it's a good hit, you add it to hand, basically draw 1 for free.
But I guess it goes back to the question that it's a few cards, So when we talk about board state, right, this is a card on the board, yes. But can you push it out the attack? No. So
right,
not sure how this will really benefit the deck. Definitely a bit more farmy on the farming side of things. But if we talk about board state, this may not be a favorable card. Yeah.
Yep.
Though when you're ahead, this is definitely more than welcome.
This is a win more card.
Yeah.
Definitely a win more card.
Yeah.
Okay, next we move on to the first event for the whole deck. Draw 1, place 1 card from your hand to the outside area. Choose out the one with an AP card and set it to active, and it does have a draw trigger as
This
well.
is a great card, Like, I think there isn't really a lot of cards that do this function or serve the same purpose in the sense where you can see this card, right, as a card that make your deck 46 card.
Right, because it's just cycle to the next card immediately.
Yeah, it thins down your deck, but on top of that, this is an event, so it helps with the Historia play.
Right.
So like another card like this would be like the Hashira event, where you can search for Hashira. So it's like thinning out the deck for the Hashira. But on the flip side, it's like you're also removing a body for the Hashira deck. But in this case, since it is playing towards event, definitely more than welcome. Yep. I mean, Soe deck needed something like this, but they didn't have it, so unfortunate.
I mean, Volume 2 is coming, so we can hope for that. Next, we have Final, nothing much to talk about. Final is just introduced in every other color and every other IP, just standing 2 APs. So we move on. Next will be a different card. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, place any number of them at the top of your deck in any order, alright, and then draw 2 cards. So basically, you can just grind, then draw 2. Would this be considered to be played in the whole deck?
I would say not many people would want to run, definitely not a 4 copy. I mean, if you're playing a Historia deck, maybe you will consider playing 1 to 2 piece, but I think at the end of the day, most people prefer to have bodies more than events in their deck.
That's
because
true.
An event played means a body removed from the deck just to play the event. And if you will think about it, yes, I draw 2. But if I play many events, I draw 2. I'm not drawing the cards that I need,
Right, and you're not basically winning the board state, which is what the focus of Union Arena is pretty much about. And I think if the card was 2 energy instead, I think you would have been more considered. Because another 3 energy
definitely
means the ratio of your deck is, you're kind of stuck somehow.
Yeah, like if you only have 2 cards on the board and you use this to draw into final and perhaps something else, this is definitely a more than welcome card. Because technically, you are actually searching through 4 cards.
Yeah, because you can look at the top 2 cards first. If you don't like it, just throw them away, look for Historia. So technically, it's a Historia searcher because we haven't seen any Historia searcher at all.
Yeah.
So basically, you're just hard drawing everything. Alright, next we have a very interesting card, it's just called Bomb. Choose out the one of the character on your front line with 3k, 5 below, and return it to hand. With no trigger.
Basically, you're forcing a color trigger on the opponent, right?
Yes. But I don't think we have seen any reduced BP in this whole blue AOT yet.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen any.
Yep, so this is basically not a removal spell.
Oh, I think there will be one, which is the blue Levi from the ST.
Oh.
Yeah, that's I think the only card that minus BP. However,
no trigger makes it very difficult to consider, but maybe the Levi does help. If you want to remove a lot of bodies, because blue has given you Mikasa, Historia specials, Carlo, and this is definitely welcome.
I
if
guess
you want
it's
to hardcore play into the control.
more like pick your poison, I guess.
Pick your poison is correct.
And if you think about it, one of the weaknesses of an event deck, right, has always been cards in hand. The amount of cards in hand, the hand size. Yeah. So maybe the previous event that we saw would still see more play in the Historia deck, which is the card where allow you to scry to. Yeah, I think that might help the deck because in a sense, Historia has a lot of AP to play with. And all they have to do is see event. Maybe this might be the first deck that we see more than 12 events. Because generically, most event deck run 12.
But I think if you play more event, you're losing the board. So we shall see how well this deck is going to go.
Maybe someone will chef us some nice, cook some very nice deck lists, you know.
Okay, next we have the special for Historia. Choose one character on your front line with 2k or less, you retire. If there's a Historia on an area, increase the BP range of this target for plus 1k for each event in the outside area. It's a 3 energy special. It can be good, you know, because if you go later into the game, you can actually touch bigger bodies, where this game, or this IP, introduced a 6k body now. So generally, specials remove 5ks.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, but this Historia one can actually have a huge, higher ceiling. So very interesting, very cool. But what do you think about this kind of non-generic specials?
I mean, it feels like the Rimwell deck, because Rimwell has a similar effect in the sense where you plus 1k for each event as well. It will be a very useless special early game, because half the time don't have your event well set up. Correct. Though the support kit for Historia do seem to have provide that weakness that Rimwell had, which is not being able to easily discard events. But for Historia, doesn't seem to be the case. There's a lot of scry, there's a lot of draw and discard. So yeah, I think maybe this special now is considered good in the Historia deck. The early game may not be as bad. Right. Yeah, but definitely early game, no event, tough.
It's just a 2k retire, which is at that point why. Okay, next we have Levi. This is what I mean by a generic special. Just 3k if you have the character name, become 5k.
Correct.
Very simple, but usually at the 4 cost. So sometimes 4 energy, although it might seem like meh, but if you play enough Union Arena, 4 energy is actually quite crucial because you need to have the right energy behind before you can actually make the aggression play.
Yeah, correct.
Right. Okay, so not forgetting 2 more blue cards. Alright, so we have the first Levi. On play, choose up to 1 character on your opponent front line with BP 2.5 or higher and get minus 2k. When attacking, you may pay 1 AP. We did choose up to 1 character on your opponent front line with 2k or less and return it to hand. How do you find this card?
This is like UG with many steps. No?
And let's don't forget the cost.
Yeah,
UG
it's like,
is a lot better.
Yeah, this is like you minus 2k, that when attack bounce.
And you pay 1 AP as well. So basically, it's almost like a 2 AP card in a sense. If you guys don't know what UG is, it's basically a 4-on-4, red, bounce to 4k below.
Yeah, that's a dumb card.
There's a reason why that card is so
Pardon
expensive.
my language.
Alright, next we have next card, Commander Erwin. Alright, when you front line at the start of your attack phase, if this character is active, choose out the one of your AP cards and set it to active. And when attacking, you have had it plus 500. So it's basically a 4k attacker. And a draw trigger, 3-1-4. I think pretty decent.
I feel that this card is a good card, but at the same time, it's also a bait. Because it has to be active. You realize both the effects, it has to be active for the AP. So I guess the good thing is, these are cards that opponent want to touch immediately. Because they don't want you to benefit from all these effects. On the flip side, this card would have been super broken if it was 4k. Because that means only special can touch it, you know, when during the attacking phase. But I guess they nerf it by putting 3.5 so that if it's a blue matchup,
it's not a good blocker also.
Yeah, definitely not a good blocker. I mean, it's good card for sure. Definitely a good card that is needed in a Levi deck. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes, how Levi decks play out. Yeah.
Right. Thank you guys for watching till the end, and do consider subscribing, dropping a like and a comment if you guys do enjoy the content.